Uh, Good morning, everyone. I'll be your MC from now on, and just to introduce myself, I am Ayushman Barua, journalist with Information Week magazine, which is a part of UBM Group. And I always like listening to the neutral guys, and the analysts are among them. Neutral guys giving opinions. So it was pleasure listening to Janakiran. And now I would like to welcome the next speaker of the day, Mr. Krishnan Subramanian, who is the principal analyst and CEO of Rishidot Research. Krishnan has been researching and advising companies on IT for a decade now. He's an industry analyst covering areas like cloud, infrastructure, SaaS, and PaaS. His main focus is research and analysis on various high-impact topics in the fields of open source, cloud computing, and the interface between them. He also evangelizes open source and cloud computing in various media outlets and public forums. Today, his topic is intelligent platforms iterating beyond today's PaaS. In this session, Krishnan will be proposing a new model for PaaS that will help the next generation applications that are self-organizing and intelligent. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Krishnan Subramanian.
Thank you. Good morning. Janakiran gave a pretty good overview of what is happening in the PaaS space today. He sort of took us through different PaaS players and sort of compared various features these platforms offer. I'm going to shift gears and talk about what should be happening in the future. I assure you I am not an astrologer bullshitting about what is going to happen in the future, but an analyst who sits at 30,000 feet and looks at the industry and tries to understand what is happening or what is going to happen in the coming years or decades, and then try to make some informed predictions about what the next generation of PaaS is going to be. So this generation of PaaS, which Johnny sort of like gave an overview, is more about scaling the users. How are you going to offer an user experience, irrespective of how many number of users or developers or end users, depending on where you are accessing the service? How you are going to meet the needs of these kind of users? So this is pretty good. This is a pretty good optimization over the middleware approach we had in the past. But this is falling short when we look at the future of the data-driven future, which is big data. So the future is going to be dominated by big data. And how are we going to have applications that will help us develop intelligent, how are you going to have a platform that is going to help us develop intelligent applications? So before I talk about my model, about the model for the new generation of PaaS, let me give some overview on what is happening in the world today. We are seeing 4 different disparate technologies converging together to have form a sort of computing convergence. I call it the great computing convergence. So the various technologies we are talking about as cloud computing, social, mobile, and big data. So these two, though they appear to be completely not connected to one another, they are coming together slowly over a period of time. It's going to converge and going to offer an automation that we cannot even imagine today. So let's look at all these technology in a little bit, just to provide some context into what I'm going to propose later, and then probably fast forward to the model I'm going to propose. Cloud computing, it's pretty mature now. It's been for 5 or 6 years since Amazon released its infrastructure as a service. It's been maturing pretty rapidly, and it's sort of addressing one of the pain points felt in today's globalized economy. What has happened in the last decade was like we are seeing increased availability of internet in many different parts of the world, almost across the entire globe, and we have also seen the availability of many different devices of many different form factors, smartphones, tablets, etc. So then the world, according to Thomas Friedman, the world is flat today and the competition is more global. So in order to, and we even have organizations having employees working from many different corners of the world. In order to meet the needs of this kind of a marketplace or economy or whatever term you want to use, you need to have computing that's different from what we have had in the past. You sort of imagine that you sort of tap into the clouds there and get the computing need for your computing needs and do everything you need for your organization. So that is what cloud computing is all about. To put it in a more simplistic way, a centralized location from which you can tap the necessary computing resources. So, even though cloud computing adoption has been pretty good, platform as a service adoption is still at its infancy. But for the past 2 years, I've been bullish about PaaS being the future of cloud services. Yes, if cloud is about optimizing your existing infrastructure, if the infrastructure services offered by Amazon or even your own private cloud is going to take away the operational complexity underneath, why stop with infrastructure? Why can't you go one layer above and sort of abstract away all the complexities under the application development layer? Why do you need to deal with the operational issues that come into picture? Well, for this, I'm pretty sure I'm going to face criticism from people in the operations world for the statement I just made. Yes, operation doesn't go away, but what I'm trying to argue is you can abstract away the operations for the most part of your IT needs. There will be some applications where you will still need to go down and get your hands dirty at the infrastructure level. But you could, for most of your applications or most of your future applications, enterprises could avoid getting their hands dirty and abstract away the complexities underneath the application development layer. And at least according to my guesstimate, whatever you want to call, or informed prediction, PaaS is going to be the future of the cloud services, and and it is going to be the face of the modern IT department. The developer API is going to be the interface where we get in touch with IT, and that is going to slowly take over the industry in the coming 2 to 5 years. So let's take Gianni gave a very good overview of the current generation of PaaS. Just for the sake of adding some context, let me sort of do a brief overview. In fact, I didn't talk to Gianni before, otherwise I wouldn't have added this slide. So the current generation of PaaS is about multi-language, multi-cloud. And as I told earlier, it's built for scale of users. It's not suitable for the big data world, which I am expecting to dominate in the next 5 to 7 years. Some of the examples include Heroku, Engineered, Cloud Foundry, Cumulogic, OpenShift, and others. And here I want to make a disclosure. After I sent out the slide to Shrikant, some of these players have become sponsors to a conference I am running in New York. It's called DeployCon, and it's focused on getting enterprises to adapt PaaS in a more bigger way. So as Gianni showed in a figure, one of his figures, this is how the current generation of PaaS looks like. It's centered around runtime frameworks. You have all those messaging services, data services, monitoring services, identity services, and whatever services you want to add to it. It's all around the framework, and they run on top of infrastructure components. He gave some examples about how Windows, Azure, and Google App Engine looks like, and I'm giving a more abstract view of current generation of PaaS. The other interesting technology that is happening in the world is social. Well, I don't have to explain social to the audience here. I'm pretty sure almost everybody here is a Twitter user or a Facebook user. But when we talk about social, especially in the enterprise context, it is about increasing collaboration between the employees or between the organization and the supplier side, or even between the organization and the customers. So social comes into picture in many different ways. It sort of increases the productivity of the organization manifold and makes it really, really useful for any modern organization. But when I look at social, I don't see in terms of relationships of conversations, which most of us think about. Most of us think social in terms of Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn or if you go to the enterprise side of things, you think about Chatter or Tibber or one of the social tools. But I don't look at social as a tool for conversation or even collaboration. I look at this social in terms of data. The underlying the data you get from social is going to have a much significant impact on the organization than the productivity the current generation of social tools unleash. So from the social data, especially, let's say the data collected from my employees using a social tool like Chatter or Tibber or whatever you want to name it. So that data is going to give you insights about employee productivity, about who is the expert in a particular field. You can use the data to sort of even do organizational restructuring. You can make your human resources decisions based on that. You can find the right set of experts for the problem you are facing, and it's a pretty powerful source for any organization. The other interesting technology is mobile. When we think of mobile, we think about Android or iOS or whatever smartphone you like. But it's a pretty good interface for accessing applications and data, especially the applications and data organizations use today. But I want to look at mobile from in a slightly different setting, just like how I looked at social from the value of the data it's giving us. I want to look at mobile as not just as an interface for our applications and data, but as a sensor, as a source of data. And the data we are going to collect from mobile technologies, it's going to change organizations in a radically different way. Think about how you can make your sales team very efficient by collecting the location data of your salesperson, or like think about how you could sort of like when you automate at a higher level, depending on where your salesperson is, or depending on the customer is talking to, you can push pretty good all the relevant and contextual information, which will come handy and which will help the salesperson achieve probably meet targets much more efficiently than what they are doing right now. So mobile as a sensor and source of data is also another interesting thing for me. So when you put all these things together, it comes into what we call as big data. The future is going to be data driven. All the modern organizations are going to be driven by data. Big data is going to rule the world. Whether you like it or not, it's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years. So we need to be prepared for the data-driven world. So I'm sure all of you are familiar with the developer dance, which Steve Ballmer did a few years back. In fact, if you depending on if you look at PaaS, you will still want Steve Ballmer to do the same developer dance, because developers are going to be the key guys in any organization. But I'm pretty sure if I give a chance to Steve Ballmer, he will be dancing about data today. All the vendors are understanding the importance of data, and slowly all the enterprise buyers on the enterprise buyers are also understanding the value big data offers to their organization. So how do enterprises use data? They use private data in terms of which belongs to their organization. They also use public data sets. Things like, let's say, social data, which you get from Twitter or some other social networking tool. Things like government data, things like financial data. These are all public data sets which organizations, today's modern organizations use. And they sort of mix these public data sets with their own private data to really gain insights that is really helping them compete in today's competitive economy. So when you talk about public data, what is public data? This is going to be the first statement I am going to make. Public data is data available in public. It could be financial data, government data, social data. It could be free, or it could be a premium data. So okay, this data is available in public. Why are you talking about data markets? Why do you need it? I can just go to any website where this data is available. I can take it and use it. Why do you need it? The raw data is very difficult to visualize or process or visualize or even analyze. And it's also not easily consumable by the applications which are going to use this data. So it opened up an opportunity for a generation of third-party vendors who take these publicly available data, process it, make it consumable by applications. So you can pay these vendors some amount of money depending on the data which you are going to get from them, and they'll give you application which they'll give you data which is very useful for your organization. So that this segment is considered to be a $100 million, $100 billion segment, but I have my own doubts about data markets. The publicly available data, anybody can take it, anybody can have their own cleaning methodology and process it and make it easily consumable. It's going to soon, from what I see, like I don't see any big differentiation between these players in the data market segment, and soon the space is going to be commoditized. They're not going to make a lot of money in the space like how many of the pundits are expecting. And in fact, the VCs who have invested money on this player thinking that they are going to make big are going to get thoroughly disappointed. So okay, let me go back. So the data market, it may appear that I'm talking about data market out of the blue, and it has no relevance to what to the title of my talk. But I want to talk about data market here because I'm going to put it in context when I talk about my second generation of PaaS model later. So it's important to understand what data markets are. So if you take a holistic look at the different technology segments that's emerging today, we have the cloud computing segment, you have the social segment, you have the mobile segment, you have the big data segment separately. There is no convergence between these different technological segments. Well, I'm not being fair when I say there's no convergence. Yes, there are some vendors who are understanding that these four segments should come together to achieve the level of convergence, level of automation which I'm talking about. But the innovation is not happening at a pace I would like it to happen. It's pretty slow. So this is the holistic look of the space today, and I want this to move to this kind of convergence. So like social and mobile are going to be empowering technologies for big data, and your cloud computing is going to work with big data to achieve the kind of automation and intelligence which we are going to get in the future once these technologies converge. Okay, how do we go from what we have today, disparate set of technologies, to these converged technologies in the future? To understand that, you need to take a step back and actually understand how the application consumption model has changed. Gone are those days when you sort of consume monolithic desktop application on powerful laptops and desktop. Web 2.0, cloud, and even mobile devices has completely changed our application consumption pattern. In fact, legacy applications are going away, and if you get some of those old-fashioned SOA analysts and talk to them, they'll get pretty excited about what is happening now, because they think that this is SOA done right. The services-based model we have with cloud today is what they were talking when they were talking about SOA. But their argument is that those guys didn't implement it right. That's why it flopped big time. Well, so is today's application consumption composition of services? Not exactly. We are getting there though. We still haven't gone to a level where we saw our consumption is purely abstracted away to the level of service. But if you look at how we consume even some of the applications, for example, you consume some features of some of the cloud SaaS applications using mobile devices. You even consume these features using third-party apps. So basically, you're consuming functionalities and features through multiple devices, multiple apps. This is not exactly the service consumption model which I'm talking about, but it should give you an idea of where we are heading. So I see service consumption model as the next logical step from what we have today. Okay, what if we reimagine the application consumption and reimagine how tomorrow's app will be? What if the app could take advantage of big data? What if the app could sort of take into account the change in the consumption model? What if the app could tap into the cloud to sort of deliver the services which we consumers of the app need? I have come up with a simple model for the next generation of applications, which I call intelligent applications. What it does is, it dumps all the data it creates to what I call as data as a service. And then the data as a service has many components for storage, analytics, and all those blah things, which will convert the data into insights. The application will take those insights. When I say application, I see it as a set of rules or policies. It will tweak the rules and policies based on the insight it gets, produce better data, and the data is sent back to the data service module. And it produces better insights, which is fed back to the application. It creates better data, and the cycle goes on and on and on. Tomorrow's applications are going to be more self-organized applications, which will sort of like automate our life completely. It's idea automation like never before. We can't even imagine today what this automation will be. Okay, it's easy to dismiss whatever I am talking as a weirdo who is completely hallucinating in the peak Indian summer. You're not completely wrong about it, but we are seeing some of these apps in the consumer side of the things. For these intelligent, within quotes, intelligent apps exist in the consumer side of the things, and it takes advantage of big data and predictive analytics. And soon, I'm expecting enterprises to do the same and sort of employ big data and analytics to really gain insights and change the way they work. These are some of the examples. Netflix has a recommendation engine, which is a pretty intelligent app. If you see that recommendation engine as a separate app, then you have Amazon has a similar recommendation engine. Then traditional US retailers like Target, Walmart, and others, they take advantage of the consumer data they sort of collect and make prediction about what the consumers will be buying, and even make recommendation at the checkout process. So there are many such apps like that, but it's just the tip of the iceberg. This is nothing compared to what we will be seeing in the future. Okay, so we sort of now understood what the future apps are going to be. How are we going to develop these apps? So you need a application development platform that could take advantage of big data and help you develop the intelligent apps of the future. So what are the characteristics of the next generation of platform? They are centered around big data. Data is going to be at the core of these platform. The current generation of, to just make a comparison, the current generation of PaaS platforms, I expect the data to come to them. With the kind of network latency problem we are facing, there's no way it's going to happen in the big data era. We are not going to solve the network latency problem in the next 2 or 3 years. So I am expecting at least I'm postulating that the next generation of platform should go to where data is and help organization take advantage of the data and get insights for the apps. And then right now in today's platform as a service solution we have, social and mobile are like afterthoughts. Like you put it as an add-on to the platform and try to take advantage of that. It's like taking something called social and putting it together. It's not a more efficient way of doing things. It's not the more efficient way of taking advantage of social, especially when you see social as a data source. So mobile and social should be integrated with the platform. And Janaki Ram talked about polyglot. Right now we are seeing both polyglot PaaS solution as well as single language PaaS solution. There is a big debate on whether the single language is going away or not. In fact, I am taking advantage of the tension that exists between these two groups in the conference I am running, and I have a panel where we are going to discuss about polyglot and single language PaaS. So, but the future platform as a service is going to be completely polyglot. For example, if I am developing an app within quotes, because in future the app is not the app we know today. So if I am developing an app, probably I'll be using Ruby for some of the features, I'll be using Java for some other features depending on my need. So everything will come together into what we call as app. So the future platforms are going to be completely polyglot platform. So in order to have these kind of characteristics, I have put together a simple model for next generation of PaaS. I call, just for the lack of better term, I call it intelligent platform. And this should give you an idea about what I'm talking about. This is the cloud foundry layer which he talked about. And this entire thing is the PaaS which we are having right now. And the picture I have for the data as a service component is pretty simplistic, but it involves some really complicated things associated with data quality and a few other things associated with in the big data world. So this is a very simplistic model, but it should give you an idea of what I'm talking about, how I expect the next generation of PaaS to be. It should be centered around the insights which we gain from big data, and it should make it very easy for the next generation of apps to take advantage of those insights and sort of evolve into a self-organized application. So who are the potential players who can build the next generation of PaaS? The current PaaS vendors or a right set of candidates who can do that. Data markets, which I talked about earlier. They could, since their data market segment is commoditized, they could sort of add higher value above the data sets and sort of get into next generation PaaS providers. Even some other data as a service vendors can do that. There'll be people do it yourself kind of crowd, like who want to put different components together and sort of create these next generation of PaaS. So some of the examples of players who are in the right direction, they are nowhere close to the intelligent platform I'm talking about, but they have taken the necessary steps to move in that direction. Flow.net offers something called insights as a messaging bus. So right now they are using it for some simple media applications, but their platform has tremendous potential to be the next generation of PaaS which I'm talking about. If you want to have a simplistic description of Flow.net, they are like a cloud cousin of TIBCO. Then there is a project, open source project called Brooklyn. It's done by a company called CloudSoft. They have the necessary set of, they have the toolkit to build your own next generation of intelligent platforms. Then there's a company called Pervasive Software based out of Austin, and they are into the big data space, but they have some really cool technologies, especially with regards to I'm completing it real fast. Especially with regards to data cleaning and other big data things. So we have some players going in the right direction, but we need a complete rethink about the platform. And I hope somebody sort of gets this light bulb moment here and sort of builds the next generation of PaaS. So to conclude, it's still early, but we need a complete rethink. I hope one of you take this idea and sort of build the next generation of PaaS and sort of help accelerate the technology trends. If you have noticed, I didn't put a slide about my affiliation in the beginning, because I didn't want to talk about me before I really convinced you about the story I'm talking about. If I have managed to convince you, and if you really want to have this take this conversation forward, these are my coordinates. You can get in touch with me. We can talk about it. If you're connecting with me on Twitter, there's a warning. I will sort of talk politics a lot. So if you don't like politics, you may not want to follow me on Twitter. And if you really believe in the services consumption, and if you want to build something using semantic ontologies, there is Dr. Srikanth here. He gave a talk yesterday. He has some pretty neat ideas about how you can use semantic ontologies to build these kind of services-based platforms. So you should talk to him and sort of figure out if you get some idea about what you should be doing. Any questions? Yeah. Okay. Informatica, not Informatica. Microsoft has a Azure data marketplace. Sorry? Yeah. Microsoft has one. Then there is an Austin-based company. I forgot the name of that company. They are one example of data market. Then there are okay. I see analytics much more closely with data. So I expect the applications and platforms to take advantage of the insights these analytics as a service gives out. So Flow.net offers something similar, but at a much more advanced level. So the platform can take the advantage of the insights and feed the application directly, or applications by themselves can use the insights gained from the analytics as a service and sort of produce better data. And if the data can be fed back to the analytics as a service component, you will get better insights and so on. So, any other question? Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Then thank you and kudos to Srikanth and team for putting up a great show. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that wonderful talk. We'd like to offer you a small token of our appreciation.